Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're demystifying some intermediate NN concepts so you can start building incredibly powerful, real-world AI automations. If you've ever felt like your workflows were getting just a little bit too messy, or you've been itching to connect smarter AI agents to your actual daily tasks, well, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to go step by step to bridge that gap between basic triggers and real advanced engineering.
So here's our game plan for today. We are going to cover the language of automation, connecting with webhooks, smart workflow architecture, data engineering essentials, and we'll wrap it all up with real-world AI agents. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The language of automation. To make that jump from basic point-and-click tasks to actual advanced engineering, we first really need to master the universal language of the internet. Because think about it, no matter what tools you're connecting, whether it's OpenAI, Google Sheets, or some custom internal database, they all have to talk to each other in a standardized way. And that language, it's JSON. JSON is literally the core vocabulary of automation. It dictates exactly how your data travels between the different nodes in your workflow. Whenever a request sends data out or gets a payload back from a server, it's doing it in JSON. So if you don't understand how to read and structure it, following along with advanced automation gets really, really tough. It's actually brilliant how a simple human thought translates into data that a computer can instantly process. Take a normal, plain English sentence. In JSON, that simply becomes an object wrapped in curly braces, where every single piece of information gets a label, which we call a key and a value. It's incredibly clean, highly structured, and entirely text-based. Now, attention to detail here is absolutely crucial. I mean it. Missing a single comma can break your entire workflow. If you have multiple items, like an array of names, you're going to use square brackets. Every key and text value needs to be wrapped in double quotation marks, and every pair is separated by a comma. If you forget that comma, or say you throw one in at the very end where it doesn't belong, tools like JSON validators are going to immediately throw an error. So mastering these syntax rules really is your very first step to success. All right, moving to section 2, connecting with webhooks. Webhooks essentially acts as the internet's postal service. They're exactly how different applications notify each other that an event has happened or that new data is available. Now, the key here is knowing when to just ask for data using a GET request and when you actually need to deliver a new payload using a POST request. So if you're just pulling a list of users from a database to look at them, you'd use a GET request. Easy. But if someone fills out a form or you want to save a list of workshop participants to your own system, you have to use a POST request. Why? Because you are sending a new payload of JSON data into the server. And when that POST payload arrives, native NN data tables act as this amazing safety net. They cleanly catch and organize those incoming JSON arrays right into a beautiful, human-readable database. You can even set up basic authentication just to ensure that only authorized requests can write to your table. And get this, if you receive a massive nested JSON file with tons of participants, you can just use a split node to parse it out, row by row, straight into that table. It's so smooth. Section 3. Smart Workflow Architecture. Okay, so with our data successfully flowing, we really need a blueprint to manage it all. Because as your automations grow, they can quickly turn into this massive, tangled web of nodes if you aren't careful. Now, while traditional developers will always preach the DRY principle, don't repeat yourself, NEN builders actually thrive on a totally different mindset when we're mapping out logic. If you immediately try to extract every single repeated node into its own separate sub-workflow right from the start, you end up with this highly abstract, incredibly hard-to-read workspace. You'll be constantly jumping between different tabs, just trying to figure out what your automation is actually doing. There's this super liberating concept coined by Kent C. Dodds called AHA, or Avoid Hasty Abstractions. This gives you full permission to build messy, duplicated workflows first. Seriously, hold off on prematurely organizing them into complex sub-workflows that are a pain to manage. Just build it. Get the automation working on one single canvas. Write everything twice if you have to. Only once a clear, undeniable pattern emerges should you finally go in, select those nodes, and convert them into a reusable sub-workflow. We can also avoid a lot of that architectural clutter by using the Model Context Protocol. Think of it like giving your AI a clean desk to work from, rather than a drawer just stuffed with endless, confusing tools. Instead of dragging, say, 5 Gmail tool nodes and 4 calendar nodes directly onto your AI agent, you just connect one MCP client. That client talks to an independent MCP server that handles all of the tools behind the scenes. This doesn't just make your workspace wonderfully cleaner, it actually significantly drops AI hallucinations because the system prompt stays much more focused. Honestly, it's a massive relief when you're building complex assistants.
Section 4. Data Engineering Essentials.
To make sure our workflows are actually robust enough to handle high volumes of real-world data without just breaking down, we have to talk about pace. If you try to feed a massive list of fetched web posts into OpenAI all at the exact same time, you are going to immediately hit API rate limits and completely break the workflow. In NN, a standard node wants to process all 100 items simultaneously. Your LLM provider, it's just going to reject the request, throw an error, and stop your entire automation right in its tracks. But by acting as a sort of visual speed bump, a loop, wait, execute sequence carefully drips your data to the AI. This ensures every single item is successfully summarized without overwhelming the whole system. Basically, you pass the data through a loop node, set it to process maybe just 10 items at a time, throw in a wait node to pause for a couple of seconds, and then execute the API call. It's such a fundamental data engineering practice, but it saves your credits and keeps everything running perfectly smoothly. And finally, Section 5, Real-World AI Agents. Let's track a precise sequence. Imagine taking a photo of a receipt on your phone and just tossing it into a Google Drive folder. Within seconds, NN long pulls the drive, spots the new file, grabs it as binary data, hands it to an AI like Mistral for OCR extraction, structures that output into clean JSON, and neatly logs the date, price, and vendor straight into your accounting spreadsheet. A single receipt, traveling through webhooks, getting intelligently extracted and perfectly categorized by an autonomous agent. Now that is absolute automation power. But here's a funny one. When building a calendar assistant, you might run into a super frustrating bug where the AI actually schedules your events in the past. Why does it do that? Well, because the AI only knows the world as it existed during its original training data cutoff. So if you ask it to schedule a meeting for tomorrow, it might literally try to book you a room back in September 2023. You've got an incredibly smart assistant that literally just forgot to buy a new calendar. To fix this tension and eliminate that hallucination, we just inject a dynamic expression straight into the system prompt to explicitly teach the AI the present date. By using NNN's native dynamic variables, the system prompt constantly updates with the exact current time, every single time the workflow runs. So the AI instantly contextualizes exactly when tomorrow is and schedules your meeting perfectly. Problem solved. By combining structured JSON data with smart webhook loops and powerful LLMs, there is almost no limit to the busy work you can just completely eliminate. You now have the fundamental building blocks to scale incredibly powerful AI workflows. The power to automate your world is literally right at your fingertips. So what complex manual task will you completely automate next?